Hello 4th grade students. Today we will move on with concept 2, senses at work, in our journey of learning to explain how do animals sense and process information. في concept 2 هنتعلم ازاي الحيوانات بتحس وكمان بتقدر تفسر المعلومات اللي بتوصل لها. In our last lesson, we asked a lot of questions about the animals' different senses and how they help them to receive information from the surrounding environment. اتكلمنا المرة اللي فاتت ازاي الحيوانات بتقدر تجمع المعلومات وازاي السنسز بتاعتها بتساعدها في ده. Now, we will start learn lessons in order to have more information through which we can answer the earlier question we asked in wonder. So, get your student book, pen, and paper ready. Let's start our second lesson. Do you remember this animal? Yes, that's the dolphin. Exactly. We talked about it in our last lesson, and we saw how it reminded us of superheroes because of its super sense of hearing. Bravo. The dolphin uses of the sense of echolocation helps it to find other life, food, objects inside the water. ما ننساش ان الايكولوكيشن كانت معناها تحديد المواقع عن طريق صدى الصوت، وده كان بيساعد الدولفين ان هو يقدر يشوف في خلال الضلمة اللي بتبقى في قاع المحيط. This is how dolphins receive and process information, especially as it lives in dark, unclear waters. Let's think for a moment. Are there any animals that might have super senses like dolphin? What do you think? Let's figure that out in activity number 5, observe like a scientist. Super senses we will examine in 3 new animals that have super senses. What we will do is that we watch a series of videos and read a text together to gather evidence of how these 3 animals' super senses help them get their food and get active at night. Let's look at these 3 images. These are the animals we would cover: the snake. The second animal is the bat. And the third one is the owl. I want you to think for a moment. What are the super senses they might have to adapt to their environments? احنا متفقين من المرة اللي فاتت ان الانيمالز عندهم different kinds of senses عشان تساعدهم يعملوا adaptation في الانفايرمنتس اللي هم عايشين فيها ويقدروا to survive، يقدروا يتعايشوا في البيئة دي. Let's focus first on the picture of the snake. What super sense it might have? Snakes are nocturnal animals like bats. فاكرين يعني ايه nocturnal؟ يعني animals بتنشط بالليل. This means they are active at night. Now, think about it. Being active at night would get them to move around mostly in the dark. So, what sense they might rely on? تفتكروا هيستخدموا ايه؟ حاسة النظر ولا هيحتاجوا حاسة تانية؟ Do you feel curious now to know it? Get a paper and pencil and be ready to record your observation. Let's watch a video about the snake behavior and how it senses its surrounding. أهم حاجة وإحنا بنتفرج على الفيديو إحنا observe like a scientist، يعني بنلاحظ ويعني بنتفرج بتركيز جدا عشان نشوف السنسز اللي هو هيستخدمها.
Talk about a shot in the dark. But even with its vision blocked, this snake strikes its prey with pinpoint precision.
This blindfolded snake can strike perfectly accurately based on its thermal sensation, its ability to detect warm objects in its environment. It is literally seeing heat. This ball python, like most boas and pythons, has an array of these infrared sensory organs called pit organs right around the mouth. So their brains have an image of the visible world and an image of the thermal world, so they see both light and heat together at the same time. Our ultimate goal is to understand the workings of the system so that maybe you could build better artificial devices. We could truly revolutionize the way infrared sensors are used in industrial applications or police purposes or military purposes.
These snakes aren't just sharpshooters, they're smart too. They can be trained to use their thermal sense to make choices and get rewards. Grace wants to learn just how sensitive those heat-sensing organs are.
They can be trained to do very complex series of behaviors.
In this experiment, kind of a game show for snakes, this Burmese python must pick a door based on whether or not it senses heat.
This animal has been trained that when the thermal stimulus is on, to choose the left push button, and this animal has made the correct choice, and it is now retrieving its dead mouse reward.
Better understanding of these snakes' thermal sensing skills could help authorities manage them in places like the Everglades, where they are an invasive species.
We recognize this exotic mega predator as a tremendous ecological threat. This infrared imaging system is certainly part of the key to their success here in the subtropics. People demonize snakes, but I just love this animal. It sort of looks like a big puppy.
A puppy? Well, handle with care. These little cuties may not bark, but they definitely bite.
Have you recorded what the scientists have said? Snakes have the ability to sense heat using specialized body parts in their face. It means they can detect prey's body heat in complete darkness. خدتوا بالكم بيعتمدوا على أنهي حاسة؟ على حاسة الإحساس بالحرارة. والسنسورز دي موجودة فين؟ موجودة في الفيس بتاع السنيك. عشان كده بيقدروا يحددوا موقع الفريسة بتاعتهم في الضلمة التامة. That ability helped them to hunt easily, get their food, and avoid danger. Let's move to the second animal, the bat. I know you all remembered that we talked about bats in the unit introduction. Yes, you got that right. The anchor phenomena, الظاهرة الرئيسة اللي قلنا إن إحنا هنقعد ندرس في الفور concepts بتوعنا عنها وإزاي هنقدر نفسرها. Let's review together what we covered about the bats. They live in caves and on trees, and they are active exactly at night. They are nocturnal. You have read also that they have a weak sense of sight. Thus, we need to observe carefully what super sense they might have to receive and process information from the environment. ما تنسوش ان احنا لاحظنا ان الباتس كائنات ليلية، يعني اكيد هتعتمد على حاسة تانية غير الابصار. Let's watch the video and record our observations about the bat and its super senses.
Other scientists interested in sonar are drawn to a much misunderstood creature of the night, the bat. There's a saying, blind as a bat. That's not exactly true. Most bats can see, though their eyesight is poor. Like dolphins, though, bats have a keen sense of hearing. They too use their ears to see. Bats are nocturnal creatures, active only at night. When they swarm out of their caves to hunt for insects in the dark, they rely on echolocation. Each night, a bat will eat hundreds of insects, up to half its own body weight. Its sonar is so sensitive that a bat can detect an insect the size of a gnat. It can distinguish the insect from all the objects around it.
This video shows a bat intercepting a mealworm dangling on a thread. And what's really interesting in these maneuvers is that the bat can catch the mealworm even if there are other objects near it. Somehow the bat has the ability to segregate echoes from the mealworm from echoes from other objects, even if they're fairly close together. The bat can say, that's a mealworm and something else, and that's a mealworm.
James Simmons, a neuroscientist from Brown University, has videotaped hundreds of bat flights to analyze their use of echolocation. He is setting up a bat obstacle course of closely spaced wires. In his lab, Simmons mimics the darkness in which bats fly. He also uses a device called a bat detector. Normally, bat sounds are ultrasonic. That is, they're beyond the range of human hearing. The bat detector lowers the frequency of the bat sounds, making them audible to human ears. Simmons and his team monitored brain activity while the bats flew the obstacle course. As the bats started flying, it would send out a sound. A fraction of a second later, the first wire produced an echo. Then the second wire did, and the third, and so on.
And the sounds are very long as they travel in space. The sounds are so long that the echoes overlap at the ears of the bat. How does the bat segregate these echoes to tell that there are different objects in different places?
Not only that, but the echoes were coming back very, very quickly. It seemed to Simmons they were coming faster than the bat's brain could process them. Yet the bat wasn't confused. It navigated the course perfectly.
Our experience tells us what the bat does is impossible. And yet the bats fly around and do this all the time.
Simmons is designing new experiments that he hopes will unlock the mystery of how bats do the seemingly impossible. If he or other scientists discover exactly how animal echolocation works, humans could benefit.
What's such an experiment? Have you observed how do scientists try to confuse the bat by wires that emit different sounds? However, it managed to know the right direction, and his super senses really helped him not to run into anything. I noticed that the bats are like dolphins. They bounce sounds off objects to find food and get around. They have a receiver like a sonar. This is a device that's used to determine places and distances. خدتوا بالكم البات عمل ايه؟ البات بالظبط عمل زي الدولفين، عنده سنس بتساعده ان هو يستخدم صدى الصوت عشان يقدر يحدد المواقع عن طريق السونار. That magnificent sense enables the bat to draw a map in the brain of the location of the object. This is how bats adapt to their environment successfully. But how can studying bats may be useful for humans? تفتكروا احنا هنستفيد من دراسة الباتس؟ أكيد.
Better sonar systems could be developed for use at sea. Sonar devices that help the blind navigate around objects could become commonplace. And medical technology, such as ultrasound machines, could be made even more useful. A wide variety of human inventions could be improved, thanks in part to the dolphin and the bat.
From our study of bats, we can develop sonar systems in submarines and also help the blinded people and develop medical devices. Bats are very accurate. Exactly like how bats are accurate, we will get to know now another animal. قبل ما نتكلم عن الانيمال اللي جاي، عايزه اقول لكم ازاي هنستفاد من البات سنسز. احنا نقدر نخترع ديفايسز بتعتمد على السونار، نقدر نساعد السبمارينز الغواصات اللي بتبقى ماشيه في الدارك باتم اوف ذا اوشن، كمان نقدر نساعد البلايندد بيبل اللي ما بيقدروش يشوفوا، ونقدر نخترع اجهزه كتيره جدا تفيدنا في الطب. Let's get to know now another animal. The owl. The owl adapts to its environment in a super way. Let's watch the video and don't forget to write down all your observations and get to know what are the super senses of an owl. نركز جدا في السنسز بتاعتنا.
This beautiful barn owl is on the hunt for a meal. And somewhere in this field, beneath all this snow, is a single mouse. Out of sight, it must be safe. The owl can't see it, but the bird's not giving up on breakfast just yet. Bullseye. No more Mr. Mice Guy. Somehow, this owl is deadly accurate even when the mouse is hidden. So how do owls catch prey they can't see? There are 225 species of owl across every continent except Antarctica. 4-year-old Lily is a barn owl.
Lily, that's a good girl.
Lily is also a high-flying model and aspiring actress. Her agent, handler, Lloyd Buck, is the UK's top predator trainer.
We do filming work and photography work with Lily, trying to replicate that natural behaviour for the camera. Barn owls like Lily eat small rodents that you find in the long grass. They are known to have very good eyesight, but they've also developed other super senses.
And it's one of these super senses that's the secret to finding hidden prey. Owls like Lily have incredible hearing. Lily's whole head is shaped like a big, feathery satellite dish. And like a satellite dish, Lily's face picks up distant sounds and amplifies them. She can hear a mouse squeak half a mile away. I wonder if she can pick up reruns of Downton Abbey. It's a terrific show. Anyway, special feathers, much stiffer than flight feathers, line the edge of the face and funnel those sounds towards her highly sensitive ears, hidden beneath those feathers. But it's one thing hearing something far away, finding it is another.
أخدتوا بالكم إن الأول بتعتمد على two super senses hearing and sight. بتقدر تحدد المواقع مهما كان الصوت ضعيف وكمان مهما كانت الobjects hidden. I made a lot of notes about the owl's senses, which are the owl has a unique characteristics that help it in perfectly locating where prey are. Bowl-shaped faces and specialized head feathers direct distance sounds directly into the owl's ear. And her eyes are also large with sharp sense of sight to see tiny faraway movements. The ability to turn their heads nearly all the way around lets the owl search for prey in every direction. ركزنا على أكتر من حاجة، قدرتها على تحديد المواقع، شكل الفيس بتاعها، كمان شكل الفيذرز اللي بتساعد على توجيه الصوت للأذن بتاعتها، كمان إنها تقدر تحرك راسها في أكتر من اتجاه فتقدر تشوف البريز بوضوح، وآخر حاجة إن عندها large eyes بتساعدها على رؤية أوضح. But did you notice the sentence that was said at the end of the video? Hearing things doesn't mean that the object will be easily located. Do you think that Lily will be able to use her super senses to find the prey? Let's see.
Lloyd has set up a test to show how she can catch prey without seeing it.
This little device emits a beep, which if I press the controller, you can hear it.
Lloyd's come up with an owl version of hide and seek. As the rules say, Lily must first cover her eyes. Then Lloyd hides the device 100 yards away.
Prey animals are not going to make it easy for Lily. They stick down in the long grass. So this is the perfect area.
We've enhanced the sound so you can hear it. But it's actually as quiet as a mouse.
Ready?
Imagine yourself in Lily's shoes, or feathers. Suppose you lost your cell phone, and it's in somewhere the size of, say, Madison Square Garden, on vibrate. Oh, one more thing. You're blindfolded. How long do you think it would take to find it in an area that big? Lily picks up the faint signal in less than 20 seconds. And as she zeroes in, her bird of prey instincts take over. She can't see the robo-mouse, and yet she's directly over it. Nailed it. Not just close, a direct hit.
That's a good girl.
This cute little owl is, in fact, a sound-seeking missile. But how did she find a target she couldn't see? Again, it's all about Lily's head. A barn owl's right ear is higher than its left, so the squeak of a mouse reaches each ear at fractionally different times. This tiny difference means Lily can work out not only the exact direction, but the distance of the sound. Her offset ears create a kind of super-accurate 3D sound-detecting map. Lily's hearing is around 10 times more powerful than our own. Incredibly, no matter where Lloyd hides it, Lily locates it.
It's pinpoint accuracy.
Let this be a warning. Don't hide from Lily. She'll find you every single time.
They are amazing, amazing birds.
Wow! The owl Lily successfully located where the mouse is accurately, even though it's hidden under the grass and she cannot see. خدتوا بالكوا؟ الأول قدرت تجيب مكان الرات مع إنه كان مستخبي تحت الجراس وجابته بدقة جدا. This is of course because of the features that we have early discussed. Think now how we discuss and search for information. Scientists always act the same. They search and learn from more than one source. And because we learn and practice like scientists, we will learn more about the super senses of animals from the text in the book, page 45 and 46. Read the text and take notes, then use all the information you both got from the video and text to answer the question at the bottom of page 46. Let's now discuss the questions together. Do not forget to support your answers with evidence from both the text and the videos. The first question is that snake use heat to hunt? Why would this special sense be useful to snakes? As you can remember, we can say that because snakes are unable to see at night, they are nocturnal, so they use their sense of heat to find their prey. What about the second question? How do bats catch gnats in the dark? Although bats are nocturnal and hunt for food at night, their weak eyesight cannot help them to see well in the dark. This is why they use echolocation or echoes to help them hear where their food is, exactly like the dolphins. The third question is about the owls. How does the shape of an owl's head help it hear what it cannot see? The owl's bowl-shaped faces direct distant sounds into the owl's ears. That's why they can hear really well. That was a great discussion, scientists. The discussion always makes you hear ideas that will help you understand and learn more. Let me challenge you and ask you to research on Egyptian Knowledge Bank why different animals may have a better sense of touch, smell, sight, hearing, or taste. After we learned how do animals rely on their senses to receive and process information from the environment, think of humans in the same way. We also use sense to receive and process information. For example, think for a moment when we get into your house. You get near to the kitchen and there's food that you can smell. It's a pizza and it smells great. Wait a moment. How do you know that it was a pizza? Without even seeing it. Now let's get wider and ask, how does your body detect things around, whether they are scents, colors, or flavors? Your answer might be, I can see it, smell it, and taste it. Yes, and what happens after the eye receives light, the ear receives sound, and the skin receives heat? How does your body understand that your nose is receiving the smell of pizza now? Let's start. Analyze like a scientist. In activity 6, we will read the text, The Nervous and Pizza, on page 47 and 48, so that we know how our senses work together with the nervous system to gather and understand information about the surrounding environment. But how can we analyze the text? It means we try to determine what are the main ideas that are found in the text and also extract the most important information from it. That will help us to explain how a person feels. Look also for words that have similar meaning to other words in the text. هنقرأ التكست بوضوح، ندور على الكلمات المتشابهة مع المعاني بتاعتها عشان نقدر نفسر اللي احنا عايزينه. ركزتوا كويس؟ After analyzing the text, we surely knew that the nervous system is responsible for perceiving information around us. The nervous system is made up of the brain, the nerves, and the spinal cord. Again, the brain, the nerves, and the spinal cord. The brain is connected to a big nerve that runs through the backbone in our backs, called the spinal cord. Then the spinal cord branches out into smaller and smaller nerves that are distributed throughout the body. البرين اللي هو المخ متوصل بالحبل الشوكي، والحبل الشوكي هو من أكبر الأعصاب في جسمنا. الحبل الشوكي بيطلع منه تفرعات اللي هي الأعصاب الفرعية. We have also spotted that some nerves, such as those from the eyes and heart, connected directly to the brain. This means that all our sense organs are connected to the brain through the nerves. Let's get back to the example of pizza to understand what happened when you smell it. Your nose detects the smell, and the nerve at the back of the nose sends a specific signal to your brain. That signal travels as electrical impulse, إشارات كهربية, from the sense organ along the nerve to the brain. Once the information about the smell reaches the brain can determine what to do with that information, including how to react. تاني البروسيس حصلت ازاي؟ If we smell something, we will have some receptors at the back of our nose. They will send a message to the brain through the nerves. أي مسج عشان توصل للبرين لازم تمشي الأول جوه النيرفز. طب هتمشي ازاي؟ هتمشي as electrical impulse كإشارات كهربية. زي كده أسلاك الكهرباء ما بيمشي جواها الإلكتريك energy. Exactly the nerves. Electrical impulse move inside it to the brain. You might have thought that the senses work on their own, but now you can really see how they work together with other parts in our nervous system. Thus, for example, when a person smells food, the information from the odor is sent to the brain, and then the brain determines how to react to the smell. But how do we remember the smells we get to smell before? The memory, exactly. The memory has a role here. The memory signals that the smell of pizza is associated with food. So whenever you smell it, your memory signals that it's known that smell, which is pizza. Also, have you found any word that have similar meaning with other words in the text? I have the big nerve. Do you remember the big nerve? Which means the spinal cord. Can you guess the other equivalent? Yes, the big nerve that runs through the backbone is called the spinal cord. Let's now return to page 48 in your student book. You will see that question. Identify and list the parts of the nervous system. Briefly describe the function of each. Think well and use the results of your analysis of the text to answer correctly. مفروض ان احنا هنا نبتدي نكتب ال different parts of the nervous system وكمان نوضح وظيفتها. I expected that all of you managed to answer the question. Here's what I thought about it. The parts of the nervous system are the brain. The brain is the main control center in an animal's body. وما تنسوش ان احنا قلنا ان هو مسؤول عن processing information. The spinal cord. Yes, the big nerve. The spinal cord helps carry messages to and from your body and brain. What about the nerves? Nerves carry messages from the brain all through the body parts. The last activity in our lesson today is a digital activity. So, let's access the textbook and open activity number 7, Processing Sensory Information. We will watch the video and learn. ما تنسوش ان احنا لازم نركز جدا في الفيديو على السنسز والستيمولاي اللي هتحصل. Let's start.
Sensory receptors keep you informed of what's happening around you and inside of you. The information is converted into electrical signals and sent to your brain. These are called sensations. Your brain is the place where you have feelings, emotions, memories, and ideas triggered by sensations. Your body has many different types of sensory receptors. Receptors in your eyes detect light. Your tongue has receptors that detect chemicals in the foods you eat. Your ears have receptors that detect vibrations or sound waves. Your nose has receptors that detect particles in the air. Your skin has receptors for pressure and temperature. Your eye is a highly complex sensory organ. As this diagram shows, your eye is covered by a transparent membrane that protects it. That membrane is called the cornea. As visible light is reflected by an object, it enters through the pupil, which is an opening in the front of your eye. The size of the pupil is controlled by the iris, which regulates the amount of light entering your eye. Your iris also gives your eyes color. Light passes through the pupil, then passes through the lens. The lens is a curved structure that bends light rays. The image it produces is upside down. The light is detected by the retina, located at the back of the eye that contains photoreceptors. There are two kinds of photoreceptors. There are rods, which can detect very dim light. Rods are important for seeing at night. They help you see black, white, and shades of gray. The other kind of photoreceptors are called cones. They work well in bright light and allow us to see colors. When light energy strikes the rods and cones, it triggers a nerve impulse. This impulse travels through an optic nerve, one for the left eye and one for the right. The impulse travels to the cerebrum, where two things happen. The cerebrum turns the image right side up and combines the image from both eyes to produce one image. Your ear is another sensory organ. It responds to the stimuli of sound. Here's how it works. Sound is produced by vibrations that create waves of moving particles through the air. When sound waves reach your outer ear, they are funneled into the middle ear, causing your eardrum to vibrate. The eardrum then causes tiny ear bones to vibrate. One of the tiny bones vibrates against the cochlea, a tiny snail-shaped organ of the inner ear. Neurons in the cochlea convert these waves to electrical impulses and send them to the cerebrum through the auditory nerve. The impulses are then interpreted as sounds. The sense of taste is dependent mostly on your tongue. The receptors for taste are clustered in your taste buds. Taste buds are embedded in the sides of tiny bumps in your tongue called papillae. Taste buds located in different parts of the tongue respond differently to different types of chemicals. One type responds to sweet tastes, another to salty, the others to sour and bitter tastes. Smell and taste are very closely related. Your brain combines the information that comes from your taste buds with the information that comes from your nose to give you a sense of flavor. In the upper part of your nasal cavity are olfactory cells. They're the receptors for smell. When you inhale, chemicals are dissolved in the moist lining of your nasal cavity. Your nose can distinguish about 50 basic odors. Your skin is your largest sensory organ. It contains receptors that respond to changes in temperature and pain. Pain acts as a warning system to protect you. Well, there you have it, your body's communication system. Your brain, spinal cord, hundreds of millions of neurons, your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, all working together to keep you informed about what's happening inside your body and outside in the real world.
We noticed that the senses receive information and send it to the nervous system in impulses. الimpulses هي دي electrical messages اللي اتكلمنا عليها, which are interpreted by the brain, يعني حصل لها فهم عن طريق المخ. so that the body can respond. This means that all parts of the body work together and all senses are connected to the nervous system. In other words, the body parts and its organ work in integration with each other. كل أعضاء جسمي بتشتغل في تكافؤ مع بعض عشان يخلصوا الوظائف اللي احنا محتاجينها. There is no part work without others, and this is a topic that we will learn about in our next lesson. By this, we have came to the end of our lesson, in which we learned about the super sense that animals rely on at night. طبعا اتكلمنا عن nocturnal animals، عن السنيكس، واتكلمنا كمان عن الباتس والأولز، وتعلمنا ازاي بيقدروا يحددوا موقع البريز بتاعتهم at night. تاني حاجة اتكلمنا عنها the sensory organs and nervous system. What are the parts of the nervous system؟ وكل part ايه الفانكشن اللي بيعملها. And of course, not only you enjoyed the three animals, especially Lily, but also acting all the time like a scientist. Thank you to all our scientists who participated with us today. Let's be ready to see how the body systems work together in our next lesson. Goodbye and see you.